Hi everyone, welcome back to Crafting at Whimsy Wonderland. My name is Stacy. You are here for idea number 4 of Christmas in July, and I have a cute little decoupage Christmas sign for you. So I have this summer tag sign from the Dollar Tree. It's a little bit warped, so I'm a little irritated about that, but I'm going to use the back side of it, and this side would just get covered with some like plain brown craft paper or pretty scrapbook paper of some kind. I just don't want to take the time to scrape off and sand all the glitter, so that's what I'm going to do with that. So the first thing I need to do is remove the hanger. You could cut it off, but these little hangers are nice to reuse. They have the little plastic end on them. And I'm going to need a piece of scrapbook paper. I'm using one from the WJB collection from Hobby Lobby. And I have these napkins that were on clearance after Christmas last year from Hobby Lobby, and I'm going to be using part of one of those. Now this napkin, when you open it up, gives 4 wreaths. Okay, so I cut off the one, and then where they join together, you kind of have to trim those edges just a little bit to make sure that they're round, because it's kind of flat right there. So I trimmed mine up and got it nice and round, and I prepped it by pulling off the second ply. So this is just a single ply of napkin. You can see through it. Okay, and then I have the piece of paper, piece of scrapbook paper that I've selected. The scrapbook paper isn't long enough. You could use wrapping paper if you wanted it all in one piece, but the way I'm going to do this, I think this will be okay. And this, it looks pink on camera, but it's actually like a distressed pink pinstripe, or distressed red pinstripe, but on the camera it picks it up as pink, and it's kind of playing with all those lines. So what I did is I cut my 12 by 12 to the width of the tag, and then I took the scrap that was left and cut a couple of pieces so I can line it up here at the top. And I'm going to do a big piece in the center and then 2 little pieces on the side, and I'll just match my stripes as I go. Okay, and then if I overlap just the tiniest little bit and take my time and be very careful, I think I'll be okay with piecing those together up there, because this will go up here and there will be a bow up here, so I think that will help hide the seams. Okay, so I'm just going to get started on the Mod Podge. I am using matte finish Mod Podge, and you can get this at the Dollar Tree. I buy it in a big old tub from Michael's. When I have like a 60% or 50% off coupon, that's when I go buy it. I thought that this big tub would last me a lot longer than it actually has. It's a 64-ounce tub. So I'm going to get a good coat of Mod Podge across this entire tag, making sure to get to the edges. Don't leave those edges unattended, because that's the most important part. If it's not glued down on the edge really well, it's not going to stay. Okay, I'm going to set this aside, and I'm going to grab the paper, because I like to put a coat of Mod Podge on the paper as well. It just helps it, I think, stick a little better. Okay, since this is a stripe, I need to be very careful and get it lined up nice and straight. Because if I don't, I will notice it and it will bother me. Brayer, it's a Martha Stewart collection brayer I got at Michael's. And I'm just going to roll this from the center to the edges, just getting out any extra air bubbles and any little pockets of Mod Podge that maybe were too heavy. I roll it in all directions. It just helps it to adhere really well to the board. Now I'm going to do the top part of my tag. And I'm going to use the biggest piece of scrap that I have. And I'm going to put that on first. I did not cut these to be exact. Now I'm going to make sure I'm matching up the cut edge, or the not cut edge, the factory edge, because it'll go smoother that way. Oops, that is the edge I cut. Okay, so I need to make sure I'm matching up the uncut edge, the factory trimmed edge. Go ahead and cut this edge off of here because it's trying to stick to my table. I'm just going to take my scissors and trim around this edge so I don't have so much hanging off of there. I'm not worrying about this trim being perfect because once it's dry, I will take sandpaper to it. Now I can see my seams a little bit, and I'm going to be okay with that because that's where a bow's going to go, so it's not that big of a deal. Okay, so now this needs to dry completely so that I can sand the edges and get it nice and smooth, and we'll go on with the next steps. So I'm going to give this a little bit, and in the meantime I'm going to go ahead and cover the back of this. I am just going to use this roll of craft paper that I got from the packing and shipping section. Oops, sorry, from the packing and shipping section at the Dollar Tree. I just cut off a random piece that's going to be big enough. It's going to be too big, and that's okay. Now, I did scrape some of the glitter off of this just because it was really thick in some spots, but I don't want to dip my paintbrush into my Mod Podge with that much glitter. Could possibly transfer into my bucket of Mod Podge. So I'm just going to scoop some out with my brush, and I am not even looking for this to be smooth and perfect and exactly beautiful. I'm just covering the back. One thing I like to do when I'm covering the back with this paper is I like to crumple up this paper before I start. So notice my Mod Podge is very heavy. I'm just going to put this down and spread it out. That way, if any of the writing still is bumped up, it's not going to show as much because the paper has texture now. And I do go ahead and roll it down so that I get a good adherence. And I take my scissors and I trim it off. I don't like to let things sit and dry with a big chunk hanging over the edge, because then you don't know if you have your edge down really well or not. I know that my edges aren't sticking, so I'm going to go ahead and hit them again with my brayer. I know there's enough Mod Podge in there. I do not Mod Podge a second layer over the back of my paper. I don't feel like it needs it. If you want to totally seal it in, you go right ahead. I'm really not happy with how this board is warping, but it's a Dollar Tree sign. You get what you get. Alright, so I'm going to let this set, and because I have Mod Podge on both sides and it's wet on both sides, I'm just going to take a couple of paint bottles and prop it up so that air can get to both sides. And it'll take about an hour probably or so to dry, depends on the temperature of your room. So I'm going to set this aside to dry, and then I'll come back and we'll do the rest of the pretty stuff. Alright, if you guys have watched my channel for a while, you've seen me Mod Podge and you've seen me take sanding paper to the edges to make these nice. So I have a 80 grit piece of sandpaper here. I just buy the packets of sandpaper at the Dollar Tree. For this 50 grit or 60 grit, I mean, is probably a little better, but we're going to use what we have. Alright, I always work from the front, and you want to drag your paper over the edge, always from front to back, never from back to front, because that will lift up your paper. It might lift up the paper on the backing a little bit, and I'm okay with that. I can always fasten it back down. But what I need to do is get the edges off all the way around. Start on the back, and I'm going to be very careful not to drag onto the front side of my board, just to make sure I'm getting just the edge, and I'll have to go back and fix that. To come back and just put a little Mod Podge on that part that peeled, push it down, wipe my edges. Now it's been all decoupaged down, the edges have been sanded, and it's time to make it pretty. So I'm going to coat the whole top of this with Mod Podge. And I want this coat to look nice, so it's not just going to be all random. I want my strokes, brush strokes, to all be going in the same direction, because this is a top coat. So I often will go one way, but then I'll brush over the top in one direction. Now that I have Mod Podge over the entire thing, I'm going to take my prepared napkin. Remember, I tore off the extra ply that's on the back, and I cleaned up the edges and made sure they were all round. There's nothing on the back of this, and these stripes are probably going to show through it, and I'm kind of hoping for that, because I think it will, if it comes through as a shadow, I think it'll be really pretty. So I'm going to center my napkin as best I can. And you want to press a napkin down. Don't rub it, because if you rub it, you're more likely to get your napkin picture stretching. And you don't want stretching on your napkin, because that causes wrinkles. Just press it in. Okay. And then you're going to take your Mod Podge and you're going to go over the top of it gently. Don't push too hard on this first coat on your napkin. Do work it enough to get the bubbles out, but try not to push too terribly hard. I love how the stripes are coming through the napkin, so you can kind of see it, and the white background of the napkin is just kind of disappearing. If you're looking really close, you can see the stripes through the leaves as well, but I just think that it just makes it look a little more vintage and really pretty. And this paper comes off as being very vintage to me, but I'm liking how that's looking. Now, I do not want to disturb this. I want to let it dry. I don't want to rush dry it with the heat gun, so I'm just going to set it aside and let it dry. You can use the heat gun if you want. I would recommend more of a hair dryer for that instance, because I've had some troubles with napkins blistering up under the higher heat of the heat gun tool. So if you want to speed dry it, use your hair dryer. It's not quite as hot. All right, as soon as this is dry, we'll be back to finish it up, and I will go cut the saying that I'm going to put on the board. I have my decal already. I printed this out off of Creative Fabrica. It's a subscription website, so I can't give you this cut file for free, so you have to go check out Creative Fabrica if that's what you're wanting to do. This is 8 inches and this is 5, so I need to come in 1.5 inches. I just want to make sure I get this on straight, and I'm going to be lining it up with the stripes. Ah. Oh, that's too high. Oh, I guess that's where it's going. Then I'm going to take my credit card, burnish it down. Okay, then we just slowly peel off the transfer tape. And hope and pray that I got it on the right way. All right. Could have gone a little farther that way, and I was going to move it that way, but it's stuck, and I didn't want to lose the stickiness, so it's a little off center, but that's okay. All right, so now I have this all done. I'm going to poke my holes back through for my hanger. That's right there. There's one. And I'm just gonna swirl my paper piercing tool around so that I can make it a little bit bigger. Make sure I get all of the glue and stuff out of there so that I can put my hanger back in. I just feed it through and then pull it tight, and it has those plastic pieces. This is the hanger that came on the sign originally, and I really like these little plastic ended ones. They really work well. Okay, now this needs a bow. I'm sorry, for some reason the part of me making the bow did not record, so it's just a basic bow that I tied, and then I put 3 pine cones in the middle and glued it on. I've been crafting at Whimsy Wonderland for Christmas in July, idea number 4. I hope you like this project. Let me know what you're thinking about it in the comment section below, and give it a thumbs up if you like it, and let me know what colors you like to decorate with for Christmas. This has been Crafting at Whimsy Wonderland. Thanks for stopping by. I'll see you next time.